Hi, and welcome to another story time brought to you by ABC Read and ABC Learn, in which we are here to help develop and nurture that love of reading in every child as well as every adult. How is everyone doing out there today or nighttime, whatever time of day it is or night, wherever you are? I hope you all are doing great, and I hope you all are remembering to read at least 30 minutes a day. And of course, that is the least amount. If you can read more, please, by all means, pick up a book, listen to a book on audio, subscribe to our YouTube channel, please, and don't forget to like and share so you can get your reading on daily. All right? Cool. And of course, I would like to share with you all again another reading aloud benefit. And another benefit to reading aloud is that reading aloud helps to develop compassion and empathy. Yep, that's right. And first, let's talk about what those two words mean. Well, first, compassion is when you are actually caring for someone. You actually, really care about their feelings, all right? You're showing compassion, okay? And empathy is when it's pretty much kind of the same thing. It's basically that you understand another person's feelings, okay? You understand, or you can, relate to what it is that they are going through, all right? So that's empathy. So you have compassion and empathy. And now, how does reading aloud do that? Well, for example, if you are reading aloud a book, say a fiction book about maybe a little girl who lost her pet, all right? And then, you start and someone is actually reading the story aloud to you, and they're actually making the story come alive, because that's a part of it as well. That's why reading aloud is awesome, especially when someone is really involved in reading aloud and making the characters come to life. And if they lost a pet or something like that, if a girl lost a pet, and basically you can relate to her, you actually can empathize, or you feel compassion for her. All right. So that's one of the ways, again, that reading, the benefit to reading aloud is to help, it can help develop compassion as well as empathy. All righty. Well, here is our book today, which actually I read from this book before in one of our other read aloud videos. And we can read the title together. And this is the author's name. Her name is Harriet Jacobs. And the title is Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. All right. And this book is nonfiction. So it's not fake. It is a real book. It is an autobiography written by Harriet Jacobs about her life being an enslaved Black woman here in America. All right. And the reason why, again, that I chose, this book is because, number one, I think this is a must-have. Everyone should have this book in their library, period. I read this book, and it was just so, again, like I said before, it was inspiring. It was sad. It made me angry. It had a whole bunch of emotions going on. And also, it made me feel compassion as well as empathy as well. Nonfictions are great for that as well, because since the story actually happened, you understand, like, okay, this really actually happened to a person. All right. And so what I chose to do was to read from her chapter, and it's called The Church and Slavery. And I'm actually just going to read a small portion of this particular chapter. And my reason for reading from this particular chapter is because this is Ms. Harriet Jacobs. And she is describing how she had to teach a man who came to her, and another enslaved man, how to read. And when I read that, I like always kept it marked, because I said that was so powerful. For her to actually be enslaved and understanding that slaves, I don't like saying slaves, enslaved people, human beings, okay, they were not allowed to read. All right. If you got caught reading, you could die, you could be tortured, All types of sick, demonic things could happen to you just for you trying to do something that's a basic need, a basic right for you as a human being, which is to learn and be educated. And she risked her life, and he risked his life to learn how to read. So I want to share this with you, again, out of the incidents in the life of a slave girl. And if you have the book, it's on page 63. I knew an old black man whose piety and childlike trust in God were beautiful to witness. At 53 years old, he joined the Baptist church. He had a most earnest desire to learn to read. He thought he should know how to serve God better if he could only read the Bible. He came to me and begged me to teach him. He said he could not pay me, for he had no money. But he would bring me nice fruit when the season for it came. I asked him if he didn't know it was contrary to law, and that slaves were whipped and imprisoned for teaching each other to read. This brought tears into his eyes. Don't be troubled, Uncle Fred, said I. I have no thoughts of refusing to teach you. I only told you of the law that you might know the danger and be on your guard. He thought he could plan to come 3 times a week without his being suspected. I selected a quiet nook where no intruder was likely to penetrate. And there I taught him his ABC. Considering his age, his progress was astonishing. As soon as he could spell in 2 syllables, he wanted to spell out words in the Bible. The happy smile that illuminated his face put joy into my heart. After spelling out a few words, he paused and said, "Honey, it appears when I can read this good book, I shall be nearer to God. White man has got all the sense. He can learn easy. It ain't easy for an old black man like me. I only wants to read this book that I might know how to live. Then I have no fear about dying." I tried to encourage him by speaking of the rapid progress he had made. "Have patience, child," he replied. "I learn slow." I had no need of patience. His gratitude and the happiness I imparted were more than a recompense for all my trouble. At the end of 6 months, he had read through the New Testament and could find any text in it. One day when he had recited unusually well, I said, "Uncle Fred, how do you manage to get your lessons so well?" "Lord bless you, child," he replied. "Who never gives me a lesson that I don't pray to God to help me understand what I spells and what I reads. And he does help me. He does help me, child. Bless his holy name." The end. And again, I hope that you all understand, again, why I said I chose to read that excerpt out of that book, because this is, again, one of the reasons why we started ABC Read, which is our nonprofit, and ABC Learn, in which we are which I am a reading tutor as well as a reading motivator, because I understand the history of Black people, because that's what I am, a Black woman, African American woman, either one. And I understand our history because our history in this country did not allow our people to read and got whipped and tortured for it. And it's a blessing to see when you have someone who risks their own life just to help someone else, and they both were in the same situation. Both were enslaved. But remember, that is not where Black people, our history began. We understand that we are the descendants of African people who did great things and contributed great things to the world. So remember to keep reading at least 30 minutes a day. Happy reading.